Does your website need more traffic? Well, visit overflowcafe.com today. They make websites popular, and over 41,000 people use their service to gain more customers. They are winning at business. What about you? Visit overflowcafe.com today.
Hi, this is your girl T with Rockafellas Barbershop, located at 1733 Babcock in San Antonio, Texas. Whether you're looking for a haircut, a shave, braids, dreads, weaves, color, we do it all here at Rockafellas. You can hit me up at 210-884-9046. That's for call or text. And on Facebook and Instagram at Takesha Williams. That's TAKESHIA Williams. And you're listening to us now on I Am Refocused podcast on iHeartradio.
You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast special edition with your host, Shemaya Reed. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now, let's tune in into today's podcast.
This is I Am Refocused podcast, and today we have an awesome show lineup for y'all. But just before we get to our guests, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. First on the list, Rico Rodriguez of Rockafellas Barbershop, Miss Kim of Riverseed Donuts, Baby McClinton of All Sports Speed Conditioning, and you can visit his website, allsportsfitness.net. Also, big shout out to DW Brooks Funeral Home. And last but not least, overflowcafe.com. If your business needs more website traffic, make sure you visit them at overflowcafe.com. Today, we have an awesome show for y'all. Today, we have the one and only. He's the author, I should say. His name is Lamont Chatman. He is a first-time author. He draws from his military and law enforcement background, and he draws from the realistic take of impossible situations. He has a book out that you guys definitely want to go out and support. It is called The Spread. So, Lamont, tell us about this book. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing awesome, man. So, just tell us a little bit about the book. Like, what inspired you to write this?
Well, first of all, the inspiration came from God. There's no doubt. Because, when I write this, the ideas that flow, man, not to sound, any old kind of way, but they're too good to be mine. So this got to become a higher source. That's where I draw my inspiration from.
That's amazing. Now, this book is also being inspired with your military and law enforcement background. Tell us a little brief tease of the book and what it's all about.
Well, it's an apocalyptic science fiction thriller, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you think apocalyptic science fiction, you start thinking about, Walking Dead and things. These ain't your grandmama's zombies. You know what I mean? These boys are real.
Yeah.
It's going to be like impossible situations. But, when the characters of my novel, when they get past it, it's always plausible. As plausible as it can be with science fiction. I hate that last minute, miracle save every time, because to me, that's lazy writing. It cheats the reader, and I refuse to do it.
Tell us who's your favorite character in this book and why.
Okay. See, now, I've been asked this question before, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I've said. That's like asking me to pick my favorite child. And, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
When I write these characters, I put so much into my character development that it feels like a part of me is in them. So, I have a closeness and a contact with every last one of them. So when things happen like, when a character, in this type of situation, brother, not everybody is going to survive, So when I have to, write off a character, when a character dies, that's a tough decision. So when you ask me, like, who my favorite character is, I just got to go with no comment.
Now, when people are reading, I was reading some reviews on this book, and I keep seeing the same constant thing. There's so many twists and so many turns in this book. Yeah. Explain to the audience, like, why was that the kind of style he's going for the reader experience?
Well, because, you get bored with the same old stuff over and over again. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the first to dip into this genre, not by far. It's been done so many times, so I had to put twists and turns that will just make your jaw drop. Look, when you're reading this book, if I don't get at least 3 damn moments out of you, then I done wasted my time. It twists, it turns, it's going to catch you off guard. And just when you think you have a grip on what's going on, then I'm going to hit a 180 on you. Boom. And we're going to turn the whole thing all around, and you're just going to be, I guarantee you're going to be in all with this book. If I had the type of pull to where I could say, if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back, I would do it. Unfortunately, the publishing company, that's a no-no with them. They're in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money. I mean, I'm BSU not, because to me, the money is nothing but a byproduct, like, say, gasoline from oil. If people get a hold of this book, they start reading, the money will come. But my main goal, my priority is telling a story that you've never heard before that just makes you begging for more.
And what gives this realistic approach is your law enforcement and military background. And as a first-time author, were you ever at any point nervous about writing, or was it just something natural that it just kept flowing?
No, man, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know what it was? When I got the idea, when God gave me this idea, it was like something inside me that just kept expanding and expanding. I didn't start off to write it, to be honest with you. It's an idea that kept growing, but it got to the point where it was so powerful inside of me that I had to get it out. I had this brand new laptop sitting there that I had never used before, and man, I put that sucker to work. And once I started, the ideas just started spilling out of my head. It started just coming onto that laptop, and God bless it, turned into a book. So with my military and law enforcement background, I was able to put a lot of that experience into the book. Because somebody asked me, why my fight scenes and my combat scenes are so vivid. I just drew from real experiences, and I twist and turned it and turned it into something that relates to the book, and it just flowed, man. It flowed. I have nothing nervous about it. I'm excited,
And we are talking to Mr. Lamont Chatman, and we're talking about his first book, The Spread. And you talked about the emotions that you drew from your background in military and law. What was some of the, if you can have the reader take away one thing from this book, what do you wish that they would take away?
Okay, that's a good question, and I'm glad you asked. What I want them to take away from it is, I want them to enjoy it, but every real novel has a message. And I've taken away things like the race barrier. In this type of environment, you could have hated black people or white people your entire life. But when this comes down and that's all you got, I bet you throw it to the side. Because, we got an old saying in the military, there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. You know what? There's no such thing as a racist in a foxhole either. Because it's going to come when you're going to meet certain people, because the story starts out in West Virginia. And I did that on purpose. One, the Appalachian Mountains were important to me, the rural area. Because to be honest with you, if you're in New York City and something like this starts, you're pretty much done. Because there's too many people right there next to you. So I needed an area that was, out there in the mountains. And I picked West Virginia because, I did my research and that was it. Well, we all know that West Virginia might have a little bit more of a racist mentality with some of the people there. Not everyone, but some of the people there. Racism is everywhere. But once this starts, you're going to start seeing blacks that might not have liked whites coming together. You're going to see whites that didn't like blacks coming together. You're going to see them erase color. Instead of making it about race, it becomes about the human race, and that's an aspect of the book that I hit on.
And I was reading the description too, and there's this one part where it talks about the leader of a small group of survivors, this guy, Thomas.
Yeah.
What was that, man? If you can give us just a tease, just a little tease.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's really hard for me to talk about the book because, as you could probably tell, I get excited. I get excited and I start running my mouth, but I have to be so careful as to not give away any plot twists, no spoilers. But as far as Thomas Pratt, Thomas is basically a mixture of, some men that I've known in my life and I've worked with. It's a mixture, I'd say 3 different guys that I knew and I put together and I created him. You know, he's the town sheriff. You know, he's got some background in the military. You know, he was with the teams, and he comes together to do what he has to do, not necessarily what he wants to do, but what he has to do, because it's the right thing. You know, and Thomas, you're gonna fall in love with Thomas. But I'm gonna tell you this about Thomas, because you know I've had some people that have read the book, and a couple of them have been mad at me because they like the character, but they hated what I put him through. You know, but it's harsh, man. It's gonna be hard out there, and he does go through a lot, man. When I mean a lot, I do put this dude through a lot. You know what I mean? But that's just gonna make you root for him even more. You see, this is a multiple book series. This is just the first. I'm on chapter 10. I'm halfway through chapter 10 of the sequel already.
Man,
you know. So I mean, you know, he you know, he's got some stuff coming. But as far as Thomas Pratt, he's that guy that you want on your team, but he's not the guy that you necessarily want to be.
Man, that's good, because it's funny you said that, because I was just about to ask, are you going to have a series? Because this seems like it's something that it's going to be more than one book experience. It's going to be multiple books that's going to be coming out of this actual situation. Man, I mean, really, I haven't even read the book yet, but just reading the reviews and reading the description, this almost looked like it could be a movie too. Like, would that be something, you know?
It's funny you should say that, because, okay, I've had almost every single person that I've talked to face to face. Now, the people that I've talked to face to face are always people that I've known. I haven't talked to a stranger face to face that has read the book, and I wish I could. The stranger's comment, you know, I get from the comments, the same comments you've read, and maybe some posts on Instagram. But the people that I've talked to face have always said, when I read it, it's like a movie. It's like it's playing out in front of me. Every single person has said that. And I love it, because you know what that means? That means that the image that's in my head is in their head now, because I see it as a movie. It plays out in my head.
Wow. See, that's what's amazing. When you finished the book and you started getting reviews, did any of this kind of caught you off guard, or were you kind of hoping to see this happen?
Well, when the book first came out, my partner Justin, he set me up with Instagram. Now, you know, I'm an older cat, 45 years old, and I'll, you know, be honest with you, I wasn't really, too knowledgeable about Instagram. I had Facebook, so I started the Instagram page. In less than 10 days, we had about 600 followers. Now we're at about 1,750 or something like that.
Wow.
And, it's blown up, you know, so it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I was ready for it. I was hoping for it, you know.
And when it comes to, say, about 3 to 6 months from today, where would you like to see your writings to be at, as far as reaching new readers around the world, pretty much? Because this is the World Wide Web.
Yeah, you're right. Pardon the pun, but I want to see it spread, you know. The thing is,
that's a good one. You need a T-shirt.
Plug. I've gotten some some people from the UK. I've gotten reviews from them. There's a guy in India. I've gotten some, he sent me a message. Yeah, it is spreading around the world, because of the world that we live in now. Everything is so accessible. 3 to 6 months, man. I would love for there to be more feedback online. As far as, I want people to comment, you know, and I'm not just saying, you know, send me the comments, I loved your book, it was great, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I love hearing those, and those encourage me and they push me forward. But you want to know something? What I'm looking for now is I'm looking for that guy that didn't like it. Now, I don't mean some dude that's just hating. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking for the guy that didn't like it and has a very legitimate reason. Because when that hits, when I get that, all that's going to do is make the rest of the books better, because I listen to people, you know, and I will make the adjustments. So, 3 to 6 months from now, if I could be getting more positive or negative feedback, as long as it's constructive, I would be great. You know, that'd be great with me.
Like I said earlier in the show, man, this book is definitely, it has that movie vibe. Like, man, I need to see this in motion pictures. And when it comes to you being a new author, I mean, you come right out the gate with fire. That's pretty good. What's some of the things that you can give to aspiring authors out there who may be on the fence to publish a book?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. You know, I have limited experience, but this is what I've learned. Stop trying to make your work perfect. When you finish, stop going back and changing this and changing that because, oh, no, I'm not going to release until it's perfect. Oh, you will never release it. It will never be perfect. That's one piece of advice. Another piece of advice I give you that I learned kind of hard way is that you are going to be rereading your stuff over and over again. The perfect example is, say, a comedy, right? Let's say you got a comedian and he's got these jokes. Well, he reads it, he writes, he comes up with a joke, he writes it down, he reads it, he practices it over and over again so he gets his delivery and his timing perfect. Well, by the end of the day, he's done told that joke so many times that it's not funny to him anymore. But to that crowd that has never heard it before, it will be hilarious. Don't doubt yourself because you have kept, in your mind going over your material so many times that you feel like it's drone. Let the people experience it for the first time. That's when you will have a good idea of what you created.
Man, that's some really good words of wisdom right there. And with your experience with having discipline in your military and law enforcement, what's some of the, have you had any feedback from your peers in the military or law enforcement? Have they read the book as well?
Yeah, I have. And you want to know something? That's when I honestly felt like I had something special because, when you serve in the military, you work with these guys and these guys become your brothers, And I don't know if you have any brothers, but nobody's harder on you than your brother.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I knew that if it was bad, these boys were going to let me know, because there's a thing. Now, civilians, this is just a saying, don't nobody take offense. Civilians will talk good to your face, right? But when you leave, they might say bad things about you once you're gone. Military is different, especially when you're with your brothers. They will dog you to your face. But when you leave, they'll be like, that's a hell of a guy right there. So when, I started getting the feedback for some of my, the guys that I worked with out in Afghanistan, it was when they said it was good, when they gave me praise, I knew it was something special because if it was bad, they would have roasted me and they would have let me know the truth.
Now with the future books that you have in your head that hasn't been out yet, are you going to have more stories maybe from your military experience in these future books, or is it going to be kind of just feeding off this one?
Well, the thing about it is it's not so much that I will use relevant stories or relevant experiences from things I've actually been through, because to be honest, I can't do that. But where it comes into play is when you start reading, say, a fight scene, and I'm talking about how these two characters are engaging each other. The reason why you see it play out is normally because I've been through it. Or if you start reading about a contact or firefight, and it just seems like, man, it seems like that I'm watching this happen. It's because I've been through it. So that's how I will relay my military, my law enforcement experience. Not so much in stories, but there is a military presence in this book. When you read it, of course, in an idea, in a situation like this, the military and law enforcement are going to be the first to go. They're the ones on the front line. Because if they stopped it, then it wouldn't be a book. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be an apocalypse.
Yeah.
So those guys are going to be the first ones to go. But what is left of them, there's a presence. And I think once you start reading about those guys, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. So that will carry throughout the series. Because right now I've got a 3-book series in my head. The second one is going to blow the first one out the water. You're going to read the first one, and it's gonna take hold of you. And once you've gotten a taste, and you're starving to death for more. The second one, it's going to be thicker, it's going to be a bigger book, but I think that people are going to appreciate that, and they're going to love that. So my experience as far as with life, with military, with law enforcement, that's going to carry throughout the whole series.
And you mentioned one thing that I didn't touch on yet. You mentioned God early on in the show. Tell us a little bit more how that has impacted this whole process?
Definitely. That right there that's paramount. That's number one. And you'll see a little bit of that in there. Now, I'm not in my book. I'm not beating people over the head with my Bible, but you will read and you will see God in my book. Now, don't get me wrong. This is science fiction. It's not religious or nothing like that. But God is everywhere. He's in everything. You're going to see him in this book. As far as me personally, you will find very limited, say, cursing in the book. There's some, it's life and it's that type of situation. So there's a little bit. The violence, it is a violent book because of the atmosphere. But in my life, God comes first. If this book in any way intervenes with God's plan for me, then I hope that this book crashes and burns and everyone that bought one take it back, because I don't play with God, Yeah. But I honestly feel that because of this flow, that this is from God. That's where my inspiration. I'm drawing my inspiration from him. So it can't be wrong, and that means it can't go wrong.
And when it comes to targeting your audience, who is the ideal reader for this book, and what age group is the group of readers that you hope will be attached to this book? Well, this book is for everyone. As far as the genre, it depends, of course, if you're into the apocalyptic science fiction genre. There's not a certain race or sexuality. There's nothing. That doesn't apply. That's for everybody. And as far as age group, I know a young lady, and she read it, and she said her daughter wanted to read it. Her daughter's 10 years old. She said, "Is it appropriate for her daughter to read it?" I said, "That's up to you." Mm-hmm. One, you've read it, and two, there's monsters in it. There's violence in it. So as far as age group, if I were to have to put an age group on it, I'd say 13 to 113. Mm-hmm. What's amazing about this being your first time releasing a book, I mean, the response must be great, because I haven't read it and it sounds awesome. Like, just reading the comments and just the comments I read is like detailed, because I know there's been times where I'll read people's reviews and it's like a one-liner, or it's a couple of sentences. Your reviews is like paragraphs. It's almost like they trying to contribute to the volume 2.
Yeah, right. And I read those comments too, and they blow my mind, and you're right. They are so detailed, and I'm so grateful, and I thank them. I thank them for leaving those comments. And like I said, that really motivates me. That pushes me. I got one on Barnes & Noble day before yesterday, and I was feeling a little bit down, a little bit just kind of tired, because the thing about this is I don't have any idea of how well the book is doing, because sales reports don't come out to the end of the month. I don't know exactly, how well it's doing, and I think I was kind of, I was in my feelings, as my kids say. Mm-hmm. And I happened to get a review on Barnes & Noble. It lifted me up, and I wrote a chapter and a half, So they mean a lot to me, man. The comments mean a lot to me.
And once again, we are talking to Lamont Chatman, and we are talking about his book, The Spread. Now, say if this ever happened to go into a animation movie or maybe a real life movie, which one would you want? Would you want a 3D animation movie, or would you want like actors like Denzel or somebody, whole elite team? How would you want this movie if you were able to have the opportunity?
Definitely a live action movie, because I actually had someone approach me and talk about that. Now, like I said, at this point, it's just talk. But if that does, work out, I would love a live action movie. But one thing I'm going to tell you, I will not sacrifice my vision. So me being a first time writer with no experience as far as movie making, I don't know if that will cause an issue, but I don't want a sci-fi channel movie, if you know what I mean.
I see.
Those movies are garbage. If it can't be done right, I'd rather keep it to print, but if we can do it right, I'd love a live action movie, man. It would blow my mind.
You know what? Another thing might be interesting, TV shows. like TV episodes. That might, yeah,
yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to using your imagination, I mean, that's very taxing. Did you ever had to because I mean, in the music industry, a lot of people talk about they eat a certain food and it bursts this great animation in their mind to be inspired. What did you have to do to stay, on task writing this book?
It's funny. And you mentioned that because, like I told you, just I think it was yesterday, I felt drained. I was down, and I couldn't really get a flow going. Then, and I'm on my phone, just kind of flipping through, and that's why I saw that review, and that review boosted me. And so I went from having no go, feeling really down, and I'm not sure what I would have accomplished yesterday in terms of writing, to writing a whole chapter and a half. So I don't really have, say, a food per se. Now, I like a little wine with my, when I'm writing, but the motivation that I get, what puts me up, what gives me that, that spiritual energy, besides, what I get from God, is what I get from the readers,
Yeah.
That moves me, man.
Well, man, it's been a really great opportunity to have you on this show, and we would love to definitely have you back when you have your, second volume come out, because I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to this. And how can people get this book? Where is it all available?
Well, you can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble online. I'm going to say this, when you type it into Barnes & Noble, type The Spread by Lamont R. Chatman in order to go, to get to it quicker. Amazon, you can just type in The Spread. Now, if you're into the ebooks, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's on Googleplay and iTunes. You can download it from any of those formats. You go ahead and download it, and, or if you want the paper copy, like I said, Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And when you do that, please, please, please comment, after you've read it, so that I can feel what you're saying. Also, my Instagram, The Spread Novel. You can get me at The Spread Novel on Instagram. Follow me. And that way, you can communicate with me there. And same thing with Twitter, The Spread Novel on Twitter.
Awesome. We are talking to Lamont Chatman. And, sir, do you have any shout-outs you want to give out to anybody?
Oh, man. Yeah, of course. I want to shout out to my partner, Justin Marsall, the Smoke Cafe. That's where you can find him on Instagram. Man, that guy has done so much for me, and I'm so grateful for everything that, that he's done for me. I love my kids. I'm a single father. Most of my kids are grown now. They're out the house, but, Jasmine, Jordan, Brandon, Nick, Adrian, Joshua, those are my soldiers, and I couldn't have done it without them. They're great motivation, and, they keep me moving.
Well, there y'all have it. We talked to Mr. Lamont. And guess what, y'all? Y'all want to get his book, man. Y'all want to get The Spread. Like he said, it's everywhere. And make sure you follow his social media platforms. And like we always say before we end the broadcast every single week, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.